Hi, this is Monk from Team Liquid, and I'm here with ToD, a former professional WarCraft 3 player. Now, I know we're Team Liquid and we're supposed to cover StarCraft 2, but this interview will be a little different in that we're restricted to only talking about WarCraft 3. So ToD, what do you think about WarCraft 3?
Best game ever.
Compared to StarCraft 2?
It's the best game ever as well. There is two best game ever for me. I used to play WarCraft a lot, and it's probably not the first game I really fell in love with, but it's probably the game that I enjoyed the most overall because I played for so many years, and now I transitioned over to StarCraft 2. But like both games kind of feel like home. You know, it's those games where you never get enough off. You start playing and then you just keep on playing, and it's your passion, it's your hobby. That's what it was for me.
Now, for our StarCraft 2 fans who may not have much of a history of ToD, when I did a power rank of WarCraft 3 players, I personally placed ToD as number 5, as the number 5th best WarCraft 3 player to ever play the game. Now, ToD, do you think that's a fair assessment, or do you think you should be a little higher, a little lower? Come on, I'm putting you on the spot here, I know.
I think I would like to be a little bit higher, maybe. If you look at the most title player or best player of each race, you'll probably put Grubby, Moon and Sky, and then I'd like to think I'm right behind them. Who did you put actually as fourth?
I put Lin.
Come on, man, I beat Lin so many times. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know, I guess it was pretty close. He had some good successes himself, he was considered very strong, but if you look over the course of, the entirety of WarCraft 3 until I quit, because he kept on playing after, I guess, I would maybe give myself a little bit of an edge. Like he beat me in some very important matches, like doing Intel Extreme Masters. I think it was 2008 finals. So I'm not sure. Maybe I would put myself as fourth, but that's just me.
Yeah, you retired a little early, so he won a lot of things later on. In fact, he was one of the most successful players, I think, of like 2007, around that area. Yeah. So I think that's where he has the edge over you, right?
But nobody played anymore.
That's true. I'll give you that. Okay, so I think your first big tournament win was some tournament in the United States, right? Could you describe like how that felt?
It felt really good. I think there was two tournaments at the same time. There was ESWC and CPL in Dallas. So I came over and I tried to have the best mindset possible to possibly win the tournament, because before I took a lot of high rank in tournament, but I had never won one. And the Europeans at the time, it was only European and Americans in this tournament. The Europeans were, compared to Americans, were kind of like Korea in StarCraft and the rest of the world, I guess you could say. Like the top three were the 3 Europeans that came there, me and Elecduck and Didi. And then in the end I was just able to barely beat DD8, but I did beat Elecduck pretty hard, so I guess I was just the better of us 3 on the days that we played on. But it was kind of fortunate, and I don't know, my conditioning was very good also for the tournament, so I was really happy. It felt really good, and also it was a double success because Grubby was able to win the ESWC exactly at the same time in France. So pretty cool weekend, and
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, ToD and Grubby were once on the same team on 4K, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then what I consider to be your biggest success ever was the WEG Masters. I actually consider that to be the best tournament ever. And I think it was the most prestigious because it was 8 invited players, pretty much 8 of the best, maybe 7 of the best, and then Xiao T, right?
Yeah.
And then you took that very surprisingly, I would say. I remember you almost didn't make out of the group stage, and it went into a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do you feel winning like pretty much one of the biggest things ever in WarCraft 3?
It felt really good, and I didn't expect it. I remember we had to live 1 month in China in a city that I did not know. It was really hard, like food-wise and everything. The weather, I wasn't used of it. So I didn't have super high expectation. I still tried my hardest. And I was not in the best place mentally. I was losing a lot in practice. I remember I was rooming with Zachard, and like we would have these practice sessions where he would stomp me all the time, and I would be so mad I would punch the wall and stuff. But in the end, I managed to barely pull through the group stage after the tiebreaker, I guess Ghost Top, which was some pretty epic game. And after that, I had to face my nemesis Sky. I was practicing with Europeans. I think Fire from Germany and some other guys. They were they were beating me all the time. I was flaming them, like it was crazy. Like I really didn't think I would be Sky, but I managed to forget all that going into the game and just put out my best performance, and I was able to beat him. And then Grubby in finals, the guy was losing a lot too at the time. Just the games went very well for me on that day. Don't know what's much else to say. Sometimes you have those days where everything goes wrong, but the same goes for sometimes they go very right, and that's what happened this time.
Yeah. Speaking of Sky, he suddenly came onto the scene and he somehow turned human into a completely different race. Now, before, I felt like Europeans all kind of had the same style, and afterwards a lot of Europeans retired, all the European humans especially. I kind of felt like you were like the last bastion of European humans that play that style. Now, what do you think is like so different about Sky, and why did you continue to choose to play the style that you did?
Just because I believed in it, and it was just my style in general. Just because somebody plays a style that works or that looks attractive doesn't mean you're going to be able to put it off yourself. And I think Sky was a genius because he just looked at the game in his own way, and he managed to show that through his games with a lot of aggression and just not as many expansion and economic play as the other players would use. He stayed on one base for a very long time sometimes, and just overall he was, I think at the time, the hardest working player. Whereas before he came into the scene, I was one of the hardest working players. When he started playing a lot and doing very well on the scene, I guess you could say I started playing a little bit less already, because I was already kind of on top of the scene. And when you're there, you don't need to practice all that much like a new player would have to. So.
Well, also, and Sky was also known for his human versus human. I think according to SK Gaming, he had like an 81% percentage. And I remember almost every human except you at the end would play Night Elf against him. Yeah, at the end, like after you quit. And then eventually, for some reason, I'm not sure why, Sky eventually started playing Night Elf against other humans. So the human mirror stopped existing in the WarCraft 3 scene.
Why?
Because they, instead of playing human versus human or human versus Night Elf, they would just Night Elf mirror each other when they got into tournaments. So after you quit, actually, like I felt like human versus human stopped existing at all. Do you have any insight at all into that?
No, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Actually, this makes me very curious. Like, how were they playing? Like, what strategy were they doing that forced them to do this? It sounds crazy, like to hear something like this. Is this a prank?
No, it's not a prank at all. No, even like, you know it, like TH000,
yeah.
he did that way before.
Yeah, he was always switching race, but mostly with Undead, I think, though.
Yeah, he played Night Elf versus some, especially Sky. And then Infi started playing Night Elf, and those were kind of the only two like other humans in the scene. So it all devolved into Night Elf mirrors. Like the three of them, Infi, Sky, and TH00, they all just Night Elf mirrored each other all the time. It's curious for me too.
Maybe they discovered something that made them believe that the best way to play was just to play Night Elf against each other. I don't know.
Okay. One of the things that Sky did was, this is kind of a strategy thing, but he started going Panda second in human versus human instead of Mountain King or Fire Lord. Can you give us any insight into that?
The thing, if you go for a neutral hero, a second hero, is that there is no build time. You just get it instantly as you reach skip, so you can start leveling it up. And Sky liked to play with a lot of tier 2. So what happened is that when he reached tier 2, he got his second neutral hero, the Panda. He started farming with it, like just creeping, killing creeps. And he got it pretty high level very quickly. So he had that AoE damage. And the counter argument to going Panda will be that mount tanking is better. The problem is that with the style that Sky was playing, with the Priest and Breakers, it kind of negated any kind of damage that the mount tanking could do. So that made mount tanking a lot weaker than Panda in a direct match, tier 2 versus tier 2. So I guess that's why he started doing this. And I was very stubborn for most of my career and kept on going mount tanking instead, as opposed to going Panda. I didn't like mirror. Like, for example, if I'd been Terran in StarCraft 2, that would mean I hate to play mech versus mech or bio versus bio. Like, I really liked to play something different with the higher tier units and just have an interesting game. I didn't like those games where you have mass breakers against mass breakers and the exact same first and second hero. And so that's why I kind of condemned his style for a long time, but it was a very effective style. It wasn't perfect though.
Well, moving on, you were part of the legendary Four Kings team. A comparison to that would be maybe the Team Liquid of WarCraft 3, except probably even much more successful than that. I especially remember this one time at the WC3L finals, which was kind of like the big Team League finals of WarCraft 3, where it was you, Grubby, and I think Fury? Zeus. Okay. The three of you, you guys, it was supposed to be a four 1v1s
yes.
and 1 2v2, but because some of your players couldn't make it, Fav had a tournament, and Fury couldn't make it for some reason.
Because he was emo?
Because he was emo?
I think he was. You will watch this, so shout out to him.
Okay. Because he was emo, it was just the three of you, and you guys had to seed your manager, and he just took a default loss. But even with the default loss, you won the entire tournament. Like, what was that tournament experience like, and how did you feel about that?
It was really crazy. I don't know how to describe it. Like, when I played WarCraft, I felt like I was living a rock star life or something. Like, I was traveling everywhere, and I feel like I didn't even need to practice much. I just played and I won somehow. And it was one of those times where everything was working our way again, and we felt very confident, even going up against the Koreans, who looked very strong. Me and Grubby, I just went to Grubby, I told him, let's win this, let's score 3 points every clan war. He said okay, and then we did. So that's pretty much it. Everything that we were doing worked, and we had a very strong 2v2. We had very strong team spirit. We were talking a lot, strategies and everything, and it went our way. So I was really happy that it did, and it was one of the greatest experiences. I think I will never forget this tournament in particular, and a few others, because this is one of my best memories. Just like, it was such a happy time and successful at the same time that makes it very cool.
Now, I've described a lot of your biggest successes in WarCraft 3. Out of all those, what would you say is the best? Would it be that Team League finals, or a different memory?
There's so many. I can't really pick one. There were so many happy times. Every time I won a tournament, I was very happy. Winning my first tournament with CPL in Dallas was really memorable, even though they never paid me the prize money, which I supposedly won. I won a tournament in China. I was playing DOTA at the time, and I almost quit WarCraft. I was only playing DOTA for like a whole month. It was crazy. Like, I was never leaving my house. Like, my friends would call me, like, we're going to club, we got some girls coming with us, you want to come? I was like, nah, gotta get godlike and stuff. So I was playing DOTA 24/7 for a whole month. Then I go to this tournament, and somehow I had so many ideas very suddenly, just right before my matches. Like, for example, there was a lot of Orc players that were very, very strong. They practiced non-stop every day, but only against standard play. So when I played them, I just played very unusual styles, like Firelord second with Tower Rush, things that they had no idea about. And every time I did that, it worked. And I had to beat Moon, Shouty in finals, and I just used every time the right counter to what they were doing, without having much practice before. So that's probably one of the most unforgettable memories as well, just because it was such a huge success for me to be able to play this well when I didn't particularly have too high expectation going into this tournament.
I remember on all the forums you kept saying, "Oh, I don't understand how I'm winning all the time when like I don't even practice, and like I'm not even that good." Or do you think you have something special that, like, did you just enjoy the game that much? Do you think, or can you give any other reason why you might have had some unexpected or intangible quality about you in WarCraft 3?
I'm not sure, really. It's hard to tell. If I knew exactly what it was, maybe I could reproduce it in StarCraft, which I can't because I'm not super successful. But when I look at players like in StarCraft, like Jaedong, they kind of remind me of myself in WarCraft, because he just goes to tournament and the guy is a beast. He just makes everything work. So I wasn't the very best in the world at WarCraft, but I was a very successful player. And like, every time I see players like this doing very well, although like I'm not sure how much they practice actually. I know they practice a lot, but not always. It's just the way they can adapt to opponents and make everything work. That kind of reminds me of myself. So the question was again, kind of lost myself.
Do you have like what do you think?
Oh, okay.
Tangible.
Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy playing the game. Like, I remember at some points I had this feeling / idea, like I was practicing a lot. I was doing well in practice, and I thought to myself, I should just play as many tournaments as possible and as many games as possible in tournaments, because not only I think I can do well all the time, I want to show my skill as much as possible. So I really embrace the competition and all that. Whereas, for example, in StarCraft, it feels a lot more competitive. It's like 1,000 times more competitive than WarCraft, in my opinion. Much harder game as well. You need to be practicing all the time to possibly do well. So that's just how I felt.
Well, it's a better game, Wax? Oh yeah, which one is the better game? Sorry. Well, I did ask you this at the start, and you kind of gave me like a cop-out answer.
Yeah, I couldn't pick really. I think I had so much fun playing WarCraft, but now I tried playing WarCraft again recently. I was like, oh my god, how did I ever used to play this? The units are so big, they never die. So when I played WarCraft was the better games, but now StarCraft is definitely the better game. If I play StarCraft now, I'll have a lot more fun playing WarCraft now. So, sorry, I kind of dodging the question, but it's just how I feel. Like I can't speak with just one game. I love both games to death. It's like if you love two women and you're asked to pick one. Maybe it's going to be very hard.
I guess that's a very good analogy. Now, but eventually you quit WarCraft 3, even though you loved it so much. What are the reasons that you quit, and did you ever think you would come back to StarCraft 2 at that time?
I was a little bit tired of it towards the end because like the maps were the same for years and there wasn't any balance changes being done, and a few things made me a little bit tired, like the Blade Master at the time kind of drove me crazy, made me sick of the game. I thought it was way too overpowered, and yeah, at some point I was just not having fun anymore, so I decided to call it quits, because if you don't have fun, what's the point really? So after many years here, I just quit. I decided to move on, and I was not planning to come back for StarCraft. It just kind of happened. I was actually kind of, I don't know how to say, condemning the game StarCraft 2. Everybody was like, oh my god, you're going to play StarCraft 2 and stuff, you were so good in WarCraft. I was like, no, I'm not going to play StarCraft 2. And then after the release, a few months later, my friends, they finally convinced me to try the game, and I was playing team games with them at first for fun. There is no fun. If I start losing, I need to start practicing a lot, and then I press the play game button in 1v1, and then from there I never stopped. I've always been pressing it just to improve, play more games, and I think I'm a little bit too competitive. If I start playing a game, like, you know, I don't even just play StarCraft right now, because I really feel like if you only play one game, you will be worn out at some point. So there is some games that I play for fun, but it's very hard to play for fun. Like even the games that I just play to change my mind from StarCraft sometimes, or just to relax, I very quickly become competitive in them and like think I should improve and think of better ways to play them. So it's a special state of mind, I guess.
I get what you mean, because I'm kind of the same way. Well, also at the end of WarCraft 3, you began casting a little bit with Rotterdam, right?
Yeah.
Little known fact is that you actually casted a GOM TV tournament, a WarCraft 3 GOM TV tournament with Rotterdam. Is that what first got you into casting, and do you think you would have enjoyed casting more in WarCraft 3 if there were more opportunities to cast in WarCraft 3?
I guess you could say that's what got me started in casting. It was one of my first events. I had done one or two before that, I think IESF or something, for GOM TV as well. And I was by myself, and I had never casted, and I was solo casting. It was horrible. But people liked it somehow, because I knew the game very well, and I tried to make the most of it, so I was having fun, so they liked it. And then they asked me to cast another tournament. I think it was solo again that they wanted me to cast, so I was like, I can't do solo again. Like we need to get Rotterdam to cast with me, but the budget was really tight. So I decided like to take a lot of the money that they were going to give to me and to give to him instead. And then I don't remember the deal exactly. Maybe they paid only a part of his trip, and he would have to live with me. And I lived in like the tiniest apartment. I only had like one mattress, one desk. It was crazy. So I contacted him, and he was directly interested. So he came over, and like, we lived in this tiny apartment, and we just like partied all the time, went to casino. It was like the craziest life. We would go to the studio, cast together, have a ton of fun, because we loved WarCraft at the time, and it didn't really feel like work. We didn't really put any efforts into making this like super proper. Like we didn't work on our English or anything. We just thought we would go there, talk about WarCraft, make sure we don't say anything too stupid, no insults, anything. And in the end, it just worked. People loved it. We got so many good feedback from it. And every time we had to go to the GOM studio to do the show, right after, we would always end up going to party or going to casino. And it was just like a super fun time that we had. I wasn't really thinking at the time like that later I might pick up casting. You know, it was something very spontaneous. I was asked to cast something, I considered it, I thought it would be fun, I did it, that's it.
It sounds a lot. It sounds a lot like you got Rotterdam started in casting. Do you ever bug him about that and make him like buy you something to eat or something?
He knows he owes me everything. So no, actually, I think he might have been casting a few things before that. I don't remember. Actually, my memory is very bad, and this was many years ago. Yeah, Rotterdam was always sort of into casting. He was one of the, I think, kind of pioneers, you could say, in WarCraft. Like, he started casting very early, even when he was still a pretty good player, which was surprising. And he's always done well for himself, so I respect him a lot for this, for going into casting. Like, I know a lot of players will be like, I just went into casting because he was bad, but that's not the truth. Rotterdam was actually a pretty scary player in WarCraft. And yeah.
Well, this has been a very fun interview for me. And I'm sure for all the fans, it sounds like you have a lot of passion when talking about WarCraft 3. And it sounded like you really, really enjoyed the game. So thank you for the interview. Do you have any last shout-outs or sponsor?
Shout out to the WarCraft 3 community, or I guess you could say ex-WarCraft 3 community. I doubt there's too many people that still play, but if there are, mad props to you. Shout out to all you guys, you're awesome. And I'm glad we share so many good memories on the same game. And hopefully we'll meet on other games.
This has been Monk from Team Liquid bringing you special WarCraft 3 coverage.